Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For this session, we will start with a new unit with safety and comfort. So, in this subject, we will cover those objectives. So, the objectives of the session, the first one, we have to discuss the factor affecting safety and describe the method to assess client risk for injury. The third one, explain the intervention for prevention of some hazard like scale and burns, electrical hazards, fire, radiation, and poisoning. Also, excessive noise. The factor affecting patient safety. So we are looking to keep our patient a safe time during hospitalization, and also we will discuss the safety of others, safety for all, according to the lifestyle, according to the age group, and during lifespan. So all of this we will discuss them during this session. So, if we are coming to the safety regarding or depending on the age and development, if we start from the first period of life, in this case, the child or the newborn, he will be at risk for infection because of low immunity in this case, and also because sometimes they might pick anything from the ground and it might cause infection. They might fall down from their beds. So there are many hazards that will be in this age group. So in this case, in order to avoid those risks during this developmental stage, we should not keep the child or the infant unaccompanied. We have to be with him for the whole time. We have to observe him for the whole time, during feeding, during sleep, in order to prevent any kind of risk that might happen to them. When they are starting to walk, and in this case they might fall down also, they might injure themselves, they might have a risk of getting burned due to going to the kitchen sometime to see what is the mother is cooking and what is there in the kitchen. They might also get burned and scalded due to that. They might also get poisoning from the cleaning detergent that is used, that might be in the bathroom or the kitchen. So we have to observe them, and we have to keep all of those things away from the children. Preschool age also, they will start to go outside home and they will start to play outside in the playground. So we have to protect them from hazard also of injuring themselves during this time. Also from the injury that they might have suffocation due to because sometimes they are eating and running at the same time and playing at the same time. So we should prevent them from playing while they are eating, and this in order to prevent suffocation. So there are many other hazards. They might go outside to the street, so we have to keep the main gate closed in order to prevent them from going out. We have to look at the home construction also and arrangement in order to prevent them from falling down during play and during movement. Then in all young adult, in this case, the hazard, it will be changed, and in this case, it might be due to their lifestyle, it might be due to their, some of them, they are risk taker, like when they start to drive and getting their driving license, sometimes they are driving too fast, they might not use their safety belt. So those are the risky behavior that they might have. And there are many other risks that might be there. And from the risk nowadays, it is the risk of the internet addiction, and there is addiction to drugs, smoking, all of those things. It might be open for those younger adults, so we have to protect them from that period. Going toward old age, so in old age, it will affect our physical ability. It will aging is affecting our physical ability, affecting our movement, affecting our perception, affecting our senses of vision, the hearing process, all of those, it will be affected. And this will increase by the age, it will increase the possibility of injury because of the our physical ability, and also because of the sensation that we might not be able to see what the hazard which is around us. We might not be able to avoid those hazards. We might also get falls because of imbalance and inability to control our mobility. So those are some examples of the hazard that might be there during or related to age and development. So lifestyle, healthy lifestyle, it will protect us from many kind of injury and diseases. So if we are trying to have a healthy lifestyle, like doing exercise and eating good food, all of those, it will help us to get a better immunity and protect us from any infection, and also it will keep our body built in a good way, in a good condition. By that also our ability to move and our ability to prevent accident, it will be good, and also it will keep a good mentality for us, that we will be able to recognize the hazard which is going on, and we can avoid those hazards. So if we are living healthy, if we are avoiding any risk, if we are eating well, if we are sleeping well, if we also do exercise daily, in all of those things, it will raise our immunity and protect us from many infection, and also it will keep our normal physiology in our body physiology in a proper way. Also our emotion and feeling, it will be in a good way if we are living a healthy lifestyle. So mobility and health status here, if we are if the client is weak, ill, in this case, in case of illness, this will affect the client or the person mobility. So in this case, it might increase the risk of falling while walking, fall from the hospital bed, that has to be prevented. So in the hospital, we have to keep the client safe from getting injury due to falling down. So we have always to keep the bedside rails up. We have also to keep the bed when we are not doing a procedure for the client in the lowest level. So in this case, even if he fall, that the effect of fall, it will be less. We have also to give instruction to the client that we are there and we are ready to help. So if you need anything, just call us and we will help you to either if he want to go to the bathroom or if he want to eat or he want to do anything. So those things, it will help to prevent any hazard from at the hospital due to the mobility and due to health status. In the hospital also, there is another risk, which is the risk of getting infection, the nosocomial infection or hospital-acquired disease infection. So also we have to keep the environment clean around the client, and we have to do recurrent disinfection of the ward and the patient room in order to prevent any hazard of acquiring infection from the hospital. Infection also can be acquired from other patient while he is there if they are in the same room. So we have to isolate any client that if he has any signs of infectious disease, so we have to keep him in isolation. And we should not permit any patient to visit those clients who are at quarantine or at the isolation. Sensory perceptional alteration also. By aging, there are some changes, which is normal physiological changes, and sometimes it might be due to some illness that the person may have a difficulty in they may have visual or problems like the acuity of vision, it will be less. In this case, we have to help the client in order to avoid any injury. We have to arrange the environment, the room environment, either at home or at the hospital in a way that will help the old client to avoid any falls and any injury. And also we have to do orientation for the client to any changes in his bedroom at home or any changes in the hospital unit that he is there. So we have to keep him knowledgeable about the changes in the room, and we have from the beginning we have to do orientation for the client in order to avoid any injury. Also, if he is using eyeglasses, we have to keep the eyeglasses ready and clean and to keep it beside the client, help them to wear their eyeglasses. Also, here, if we want to transfer the client for doing any procedure, it is advisable always, even if he is able to use the wheelchair for them in order to prevent, for the purpose of safety and in order to prevent any fall during transfer to any part of the hospital. If they are having also hearing problem, in this case also we have to alert them if there is any possibility of in case of any danger that is going around him. So they are the first one that we have to help them in case of fire, in case of any danger in at hospital or at home. So and the cognitive awareness, in order to keep ourselves safe, we have to understand what are the risks which is going around us. So if there are mental problems, if the client is having mental problems and the cognitive ability is low, in this case, the ability of the client to understand what is going around him or to understand the risk factor, it will be low. So in this case, we have, it is the responsibility of the attender, it is the responsibility of the caregiver, it is the responsibility of the family member, it is the responsibility of the nurse to keep that client in a safe condition. And it is the responsibility of them for the safety of that client. So also this cognitive, it is a learned process. So we are learning it through experience sometimes. So we have to for a small younger infant, we have to start to keep them aware of the hazard which is going around them in order to avoid those hazards. For those who are having, as we said, cognitive awareness problem, in this case, we have to keep them away from any hazard, and it is our responsibility to prevent those hazards. Sometimes, for our client, what are the things that will affect also their cognitive awareness? Yes, they are having a good cognition, but sometimes due to the medication that we are giving them, like pre-operative medication, like when they are coming out from operation, due to the anesthesia, like in case of pain, the sedative that we are giving them, the strong sedative, all of those, it will affect their cognitive awareness sometimes of what is going around them. So it might lead, or it might be a cause of an injury or an awareness of the hazard which is around them. So in this case, they might be at risk of injuring themselves. So we have to keep an eye on those clients when they are when we are giving them any medication that interfere with their ability or of movement, or with any their ability to see or to hear or to understand what is going around them. Emotional state. For the emotional state, if we are having problems sometimes, even if it is those problems, it will affect our emotion, it will affect our thinking. So sometimes, in this case, our strong emotion, it will put us under risk of injury. Did you see anybody sometime who sometime when you pass beside one of your friends, and sometimes you call them or you are greeting them, but they did not respond. Sometimes we might get angry with them. Sometimes we might say that, what's the problem of this man? He is my friend, but he is not responding to my greeting. After few days, if you pass by him or ask him that, about that situation, he might say that I didn't recognize you, I didn't also see that you are passing beside me. Why? Because of the strong emotion, because of the thinking, because of that problem that he is having, and he is engaged with that problem. So even though sometimes we will not be able to recognize the hazard which is going around us if our emotional state is either elated or and if we are also depressed, in a depressed mood, in both ways. Ability to communicate. If the client is having, or if the person is having difficulty in communication with others, the difficulty in understanding the others, so in this case also the risk of injury, it might be increased because he didn't understand what the instruction that we are giving them because of the communication problem, inability to understand us, or if he has some hazard or some problems and he wants to transfer it and to tell us about it, he will not be able to communicate that feeling, that problems to the nurse or to the others or to the caregiver. So in this case, he might get the risk because of the communication problems. Safety awareness. So in order to be safe, we have to be aware what's going on around us. Safety, we have to know what's the expected hazard which is going around us. What is the non-expected hazard? So it is depend upon where we are living. So the house itself that we are living in it might have a certain hazard. It might be from the stairs, if it doesn't have rails that prevent us from falling down, the children. It might be from arrangement of the furniture. It might be from the furniture itself, if the furniture has sharp edges. So it is a kind of hazard thing or unsafe thing that it might be there. If we are not aware of the effect of some detergent that we are using at home, if we are not aware of, if we are mixing them together, what will happen? There are common problems with ladies when they want to clean sometime to do a good job in their kitchen or in the bathroom and to clean the surfaces. Sometimes what they are doing, instead of using one type of cleaning detergent, or they are mixing some of them together. Those are chemical substances. It should not be mixed at all together, because when we mix them together, there are some reaction, and there might be some new product. That new product, it will not clean properly, and also the other thing, that it might produce gases. Those gases, it might be fatal. So always avoid to mix any detergent or any cleaning substances together. Use it as it is. So awareness of what's going around us. If we are going to a forest, we don't know what kind of wild animals are there. If a storm is there, wadi is coming. So we have to be aware of what is going around us and to keep our self safe. So if we are aware of what is going around. If we are not taking risk, we should not also be as a risk taker, because some people, especially young adults, they are risk taker. They know the hazard sometimes, but they want to try to be within the hazardous condition, and they thought that they will be able to escape at the moment or at and to save themselves, but they might not be able to do that. So we should not take a risk. Environmental factors. So environmental factors, it depends upon what is around us. If we are beside a main road or highway, this is a hazard of getting road traffic accident. Using bicycles, also there is risk of falling down. If a swimming pool is there at home, or if there is a leak around our home, or a well is there, so those are a hazard of falling down, and hazard of being or any hazard according to the hazard, it is specified according to the environment that we are living on it. The type of houses, sometimes there are also risky area, risk of in a war area, or military area. There are many hazards which is coming from the environment. The first, as we said, the wild animals, animals themselves also, even if they are pet animals, but animals, they might have an infectious disease, so we have to, in this case, we have to check them regularly, and also give immunization for those pet animals. Assessing a client as risk of injury. We have, in order to assess the client for risk injury, we have to go to nursing history and physical examination. In the nursing history or the history for injury, we have to ask if that client is having a previous injury before. If that injury is repeated, in this case, if the client is having recurrently injured himself, or some injury from the environment that he is living, or any kind of injury or any infection, in this case we have to do more assessment. It might be due to either sensory impairment, it might be due to mental impairment, it might be due to lack of awareness. So we have to concentrate here. It might be to mobility problem, and then we have to assess the client by physical examination. Also this include all assessment of the whole body for the ability to movement, ability to control himself, ability to walk steadily without any falls, ability to have the balance, also because the balance, it is maintained by the brain, the muscles, and also by the vision. So all of those we have to assess them in order to keep the client safe and help him to be safe. Also, we have to assess the client if he is using eyeglasses, if he is using a hearing aids. All of those tools, we have to be sure that it is working well. We have to use risk assessment tools for those clients. The risk assessment tools, it has many factors, so you refer to it at your book, and we will discuss it later also. Preventing of specific hazard, there are many hazards that the person might be prone to them, so we have to prevent some of those hazards. One of those hazards, which is burn and scales. Burn due to dry heat, and scales due to moist heat or hot liquids like water or any other liquid. Those burns, it might happen at home. It might be from the gas cooker. It might be from leakage of gas. It might be due to escaping of oil from the frying pan that we are using. Might be for the children, sometimes they might enter, or a younger child, they might enter the kitchen to find out what their mother is preparing, so they might get burned and scaled due to that pan might fall over them. It might happen also to a younger adult or to the mother themselves if they actually are not taking care. Also, so always we have to keep the kitchen safe. We have to prevent the children from going inside the kitchen while we are cooking. If they are coming there, we have to keep an eye on them and prevent them to go to the cookers and to see what's going on. So what are the common home and hospital hazards causing scale and burn? At the hospital also, burn, it might be due to electrical thing, it might be due to hot water bottle that we are using to the client, especially if he is having a loss of sensation due to diabetic or any nerve generation, any disease that causes nerve degeneration. So it might burn, it might be there. Burn, it might be due to any heating utensils that we are using it for a treatment of and physiotherapy for the client. It might be from electrical blanket. It's either at home or at the hospital. So it might be from electrical equipment. So we have to be sure that any electrical equipment, when it is used, it has to be used safely. We have to use the proper wire for that, the proper connection for it, extension wire. Also, we should avoid it as we can. Also, when choosing extension wire, we have to choose it that it has capacity of transferring electricity according to the machine that we are using. What's our role in preventing of those hazards? So our role is observing and preventing and keeping an eye to our children and keeping an eye to our client and avoiding use of any electrical applicants or keeping it in the electricity while it is not used. We have to avoid some of electrical equipment. The consumption of electricity is high. So in this case, if we are using multi-plug and using more than one electrical applicants at the same time. This will lead to warming of the wire, and it might lead to fire. So we have to avoid electrical fire due to that thing. So fire at home, fire. What are the common cause of fire at hospital? And the hazard might cause fire at hospital or home. At home or at hospital, there are many equipment which also might help in getting fire. Like at hospital, we are using oxygen, we are using some volatile solution, chemical solution that also easily burn, and in this case we have to keep those solution away from any source of heat. We have also to not to use any heating devices beside oxygen also, because in this case if fire is coming, it is easier to that because oxygen is there. At home also we have to keep the fuel, we have to keep the stove away from children, away from also old age people, not to keep them in a cold place, but there should be a distance between them. Also any fuel, it should be in a safe store and away from any source of heat in order to prevent fire. Also, electrical applicants at home, you should put it off when you are going outside the house. We should not use multi-plug as we can. We have to choose the applicants and the wires for that applicants according to the required consumption of electricity. So we have to use a good extension wire if we are using extension wire. So by that we might be able to prevent those hazards. Fall hazards, as we said, fall at hospital, it might be fall from bed. So in this case, we have to keep the client attended, especially when he is taking any strong analgesic or after coming from the operation theater, after anesthesia. And we have to keep the side rails up always. We have to keep the bed at the lowest level. So any client who is at risk of fall, we have to avoid that fall by that and or by that precaution, and we have to keep an eye on them. We have to help them when they need any help. We have to keep also the calling bell beside them and doing proper orientation for the client in order to avoid the risk of fall. We have to be ready for help and showing that you are not only showing, it is an actual thing that we are ready to help and we are around you when you are calling. So by that we will avoid that risk and preventing, we are applying the preventive measure for the risk of fall. Using wheelchair or transferring the client to wheelchair or trolley whenever we are transferring him from his room to operation theater or to X-ray department or any side hospital. You can also see the table in page 731, which include more precautions. About poisoning, what are the common poisoning at home and hospital hazard poisoning? As we said, at home there are many sources of poisonous material, especially the cleaning detergent, the Clorox and the cleaning detergent, and all the detergent that we are using for washing, for cleaning, for dishwashing, all of those are hazardous and chemical substances which might lead to poisoning. Also, drugs, especially for small children. It might be by fault, might taking it, or it might be for a suicidal purpose. So any drugs at home should be kept in a locked place. Most of small children, they might get poisoning from those pills, because pills are covered with sugared or sweet cover that might be, or their color also, sometimes it is similar to the sweet that they are buying from the market. So also it is a job for those marketers not to use or to prepare any sweet similar to the tablets. And also, when we are giving the medication or drugs to the client, don't tell the client, don't tell your child that this is a sweetie thing, just take it, this is a juice, just take this one spoon from it, because in this case we are teaching them that it is something that might take at any time. So we have to tell them that this is a drug and we have to take it because now you are sick and it will help you to get better. But we should not take it when we are healthy. Hospital hazard for poisoning, there are many hazards for poisoning. It is from the gases that we are uses for, like laughing gas, from the detergent also that's used in the hospital. It might be from the drugs. So the drugs cupboards, it should be always, or the drug trolley, it should be always locked, because it might be a suicidal attempt from some of the client that they will take some of the drugs in order to get suicide. So, and there are many other things that might lead to poisoning. As we said before, at home, if we are mixing some detergent together, it might produce poisonous gas. At the factories, which is producing some gases, there might be also poisoning. At home, it might be food poisoning. Food poisoning might be from improper storage of food, and also from some of the food it might be contaminated. If we are dealing with the frozen food also in an improper way, it might lead to poisoning, especially on a hot weather. In hot weather, poisoning, food poisoning, it is more than in cold weather, due to the it is a hot weather. It is a good media for microorganisms to multiply. Our role of prevention is to be aware of the hazard which is around us, to keep all the poisonous thing away from the reach of children, especially detergent, especially drugs. It have to be kept away from children. Also, we should not use any substance which is poisonous substance. We should not use any can which is used or any bottles which is used for food or juice to keep those things inside, because also it happened with many cases that when the person came and he saw that can, which is usually for water or for juice, so he thought that juice is there. What he will do, he will take it and put it in the fridge. When we are coming to drink water or juice, we thought that it is a juice, so we will not feel it because it's cold. We will not feel it until we are swallowing it. And it happened many times accidentally in this way. Excessive noise, we have also to avoid excessive noise. Excessive noise now, it's coming from the work itself sometimes, and it is from the lifestyle and our use of headphones sometimes, especially for children, if they are keeping the using the headphone for a long period of time and keeping that sound high when we are working in any factory or any area that has a high level of sound. In this case, also we have to use an earplug sometime in order to avoid deafness and to avoid the hazard of that noise in our auditory nerve and in our also middle ear, the eardrum and the ossicles. So there are many machines that might be producing noise. We have to avoid noise and as possible. At hospital, sometimes the MRI machine, which is used for diagnostic purpose, also is producing high sound. So those who are working with it and for the patient, they are putting earplugs while it's used. Electrical hazard, as we said, we have to keep the when we are dealing with electricity, we should not deal with it with a wet hand. Also, if any fires is there, the first thing that we have to do is to put off the main switch of electricity. If we have to be sure that also the wires of all electrical applicants, that it is properly installed and isolated. So we have to be sure that there is no cracks on those wires, and we have to apply it in a proper way. Also, in many machines, if it is used for a long period of time, it will get hot, and that it might lead to burning of that machine, and it might lead to fire, electrical shock. So always be use or when we are putting on or off, or when we plugging any machine, we have to plug it with a dry hand. And we have to use the earth that for the applicants. So we answer these questions. About radiation, radiation also, there is hazard for radiation. It might be from the environment. We are, if we are the ultraviolet rays and the infrared rays, which is coming out from exposure to sunlight for a long period of time. It might be from the machine, it might be at hospital when we are using radiation for either diagnostic purposes or for treatment purposes. In this case, any person who are they're dealing with the machine of radiation or they have to wear the proper protective devices in order to protect themselves from radiation. They have to keep themselves away from the patient during exposure to when exposing the client to radiation. If we are doing the diagnostic procedure for any lady due to any injury while she is pregnant, in this case, we have to cover her abdomen with protective apron in order to prevent exposure of the embryo to radiation and avoid radiation as we can. For some of the patients, they might have implanted radiation or they are we are giving them some radioactive material intravenously. Or in this case, we have to be away from them. We have to use also protective devices when we are dealing with those clients. And also not for us, even for the visitor, for those clients. We have to keep them in a safe manner. So by that, we give examples of the hazard that we might expose to and the way of preventing of them. There are many other hazards in our environment at the hospital that you have to be aware of them and to avoid them. Good luck and be safe. Be aware of what is going around you and safe. We hope all of you to be safe. Thank you.